Welcome to On the Block. Today I'm taking you to the famous and luxurious Bahnhofstrasse, just in front of the Swiss National Bank and 100 meters away from Paradeplatz, home to Zurich's banking sector. But if I'm here today, it's for this building, just across the street. Trust Square is a hub for blockchain startups and companies and opened last spring, but today was their open day. I met with the founders of what they consider Zurich's home to the blockchain community. Come with me. From the window, we can see the Swiss National Bank. You're in Bahnhofstrasse, the super luxury street of Zurich, near Paradeplatz, where we have UBS, Credit Suisse, and we have this blockchain kind of open space for different companies that aim to revolutionize so many sectors, including the finance sector. It's very contradictory in a way.
It's a good coincidence, I think. Basically, as I said, I was in the building. I just heard about it. I had this idea for a long time. When I heard about this opportunity coming along, I just got my friends together that we are basically now the co-founders of this, and we just jumped on the opportunity, not planning this in any shape or form to be here at this place. Clearly, we are very grateful and very happy that we have it at this place. As you say, we are opposite the National Bank. We bring the old world to the new world when it comes to the financial center, thanks to our Trust Square now that we basically built here. So we are very happy.
And what is the advantage for the young startups that are based here to share the same location as other blockchain-based companies?
We have quite a few startups in the fintech space, so startups that are working in new models for the financial center. Obviously, everybody somewhat uses blockchain technology. That's a condition to be with us here at Trust Square. So the advantage is to be close to the Paradeplatz, to the banks that are around us here. We are in the middle of everything to do with financial services in Switzerland. We also have the big startup B3I in the house, which is all about insurance. All the big insurance companies from all over the world came together and founded this B3I consortia. And so this is all kind of beneficial for everybody involved. And what we are very much focused on here is as well to connect startups with research. And so we have partnerships with all the leading universities in Switzerland, namely ETH and University of Zurich here in town, University of Basel, University of Lucerne, Rapperswil Hochschule. And so we have a really good network of academia together with our startups. And the goal is to work together and then bring people together. The open house today is one of the examples. We want to kind of how to foster this community, and then we have regular events on the rooftop and in the workshop room that we have to connect the world with us, what we are doing here.
Does this place make you as a company head more legitimate? You have a real brick and mortar location with this technology that so many people still don't really understand?
Exactly, and that's the whole point. We really want to be the center for everybody that is interested in this topic of blockchain technology to come here and see us and work with us. And that's why we did the open house, to actually show the world that this is not just some hype thing with cryptocurrencies and all the speculation, ICOs. It's real projects that are being worked on here. And that's a very much focus point of Trust Square. We have this view that this should be a sustainable long-term ecosystem that we are building here, and that's exactly what we are doing. And so this is anything but a short-term hype. We believe this is a very long-term and will have a very severe impact on the financial center, and so that's what we are trying to establish here with Trust Square.
How easy was it to start this Trust Square here in Bahnhofstrasse and even before with the previous project? How did the politicians react, the landlords, the banks? Because we can still see some kind of fear from the institutions towards this blockchain companies.
Yes. So I will actually I think you mentioned something very interesting, and that's the government. And I will actually give my feedback about this because on a couple of occasions I had experience to talk to politicians or people who are a bit prominent. And it's very interesting actually to think about the history of the Swiss financial system. And Swiss financial system and the economy actually was based, if you think about it, on something called banking secrecy. And that was actually the business model of the Swiss financial system, banking secrecy. We just don't say what everybody does here. And that actually kind of went away after the financial crisis. And it was very interesting. It was because of the United States when they passed something called FATCA, which required the whole planet to report to US about what's happening in their financial system. And at that moment, the business model of the Swiss financial system was gone. And think about it, the business model was secrecy. And all of a sudden you have blockchain technology, which is transparent, which is kind of efficient, which everybody can see. And then the message was, let's take banking secrecy as a business model that has completely failed and use this new technology And what we're going to do is we are going to bring transparency to our financial system. So you actually do the complete opposite and you succeed as an idea, as a project within the financial system. And so this is kind of how I saw it. And I can actually make a very strong statement that a politician one time in an informal meeting told it very clearly to the audience, to the people who are there. He said, we will not let this opportunity slip our hands because everybody gets it. It's the future, it's coming, and the question is who's going to be brilliant enough to grab the opportunity.
Your background is in finance, yes. Hedge funds. Yes. You were involved in the creation of Like, which is this promising cryptocurrency, blockchain-based company. How does the rest of Paradeplatz, the traditional banks, the traditional finance sector, react to this new up-and-coming blockchain crypto companies?
So I will say is that I will repeat that it's actually still very early, and a lot of people still don't understand us. We're young people, we're doing something new, maybe don't understand technology, they heard about it. But I have to say is that I have been in this space since 2013, and 2013-14 things were a lot different than today. Nobody was talking about the blockchain. This was not interesting. So I actually am extremely optimistic and so positive because I actually saw the change over the last 5 years. And I only saw good things. So I am actually, my impression was always that the traditional sector loves the blockchain. They're extremely enthusiastic about it. They know it's the future, but we are humans, we are people, and it takes time. And this is how I would say that everybody knows it's the future. It is so obvious. For instance, the same way when internet was emerging, everybody who thought about it a little bit said, but this is amazing. We can communicate instantly using this technology. And it's the same thing is with the blockchain. We can instantly exchange assets and very freely and cheaply. It will all work amazing. So everybody understands we're going to get there. But again, it just takes very time.
Trust Square hosts a lot of blockchain startups, companies, but here it's a whole different story. Why not just building a blockchain startup?
Yeah, that is a funny question actually. We thought about being, back in the days we thought about being one of the first crypto funds in Switzerland, and then we thought about this idea and everything was set. And then we realized, what are we going to do afterwards? And we realized that this is not what motivates us at the end. That's why we left this idea and said, other people can do this, and it has a raison d'être, and they're way better in this than we are, let them do this. Then we focused on what do we really like about decentralization. And we realized that it's we have a very research-driven approach to decentralization. We want to see it in all its forms. We want to see it from a holistic point of view, actually. And that's why we thought that a think tank is the perfect form for us to do research on decentralization and try to see it in a bigger scope than just in a certain market, for example.
So you do research, it's a bit more academic than business in a way. And I mean, when we enter this room, it's obvious, unlike all the different rooms that I visited today, this one looks more like a lab in a way.
Yeah, I think lab would be actually the right description, because this is actually what we're aiming for. This should be an open space for people to collaborate. Also, the academic partners of us and the academic partners of Trust Square, they can always come in here, send their researchers, and work from this space on. So this is actually what we're looking for, to have this ground where ideas can be exchanged and ideas can flourish around the topic of decentralization.
Decentralization, isn't it ironic that you focus so much on that while being the founder, one of the founders of this hub that centralized so many blockchain companies?
I mean, there are, of course, this is a good question. There are different levels of decentralization, different forms. I mean, there is political decentralization, where you decentralize power, for example, but there is also geographical decentralization, where you, or architectural decentralization, you can call it, where you decentralize over geographic measurements, let's call it like this. But I think in this point it makes really sense to get a lot of people together and get them in a huge building as here in Zurich, and get them actually they have to meet at some point even if they are just going to the restrooms, they have to meet at some point. And the coffee machines are also a place somewhere where they have to meet at some point. And there, I think centralization on a geographical level or architectural level makes sense, because we want people to meet in persona and then ask them, hey, what are you working on? Or, hey, how is your project going? And then they start talking, and then they spin ideas again. So I think in this case, it makes a lot of sense to get people at the same place. But then again, I mean, how are you going to organize your cooperation, your project, if everybody wants to work remotely? This is another question, of course.
Why building this open space with different desks that young startups can rent?
I think that's one of the most important parts we want to achieve at Trust Square, is bringing together on the one side this little virtual world of blockchain startups together with the reality. In the middle of the city center of Zurich, bringing them together with the academics, with corporate partners to actually let this new technology live and give it a face, and also make it easy to basically touch it and see it, that there is a reality behind this.
And yourself, you're not only a founder of Trust Square, but you also have your own company. Didn't you want to be alone in your own offices to have meetings there, to work from there, not overwhelmed by this huge building?
No, I think it's rather a positive thing, because here is where the networking really happens. So we actually bring the networking that happens in the internet to a reality level. Here it's over a coffee on our terrace, and then you actually meet the people that then can also help you. You can exchange with, you can also challenge yourself with your ideas. And I think that's one of the key gains also, because at the end of the day, even though we're doing digital startups, we're still humans.
No competition amongst yourselves?
Well, of course, but I mean, I keep it like this. You know, the first thing you have to do if you do something is call your competition, because those are the ones you can learn the most from.
And how many exactly companies do you have here? And is one of your hope to see some kind of partnerships between these companies?
I mean, this is already happening. I mean, the co-working between our tenants, this is a reality. And it's always a little bit difficult to have the exact figures, somewhere between 20 or 30 companies that are here, exactly also due to this thing. I mean, we are a home, we are also a little bit a shelter to find a space to basically evolve your ideas, and we're startups. So startups come and go.
I try to stay humble and really to focus on what brings benefit to the people. And it's not about showing off. I think Trust Square would have been, as a concept, successfully likewise if it wouldn't have been the Bahnhofstrasse. That we are here, I think we are grateful for that. And we try to have the connection to the people due to the location. And also for the business, I mean, I think the most important thing is to really focus and to stay humble.
What you do here is meeting blockchain and football. How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, at the first glance, both seems to be very separate. However, there's a strong connection to it. Football clubs generally do need to digitalize their environment and the ecosystem, and the blockchain is an enabler to do so. We actually focus on the digitalization of football clubs, and what you see here are basically two concepts. One is the fan engagement in a fan app. We have a digital fan journey in the stadium and around the stadium, where fans can where fans can vote, where fans can actually pay in the stadium with with their own token of the club, and also can actually participate in their favorite football players, which is the tokenization of football players. I think this is something that will put the fan engagement on an entire new level.
So that means that a football player will be some kind of product that the fans can invest on somehow?
Kind of, yeah. There's a stronger relationship then to the football club and the player. So the football club, on the one hand, has a new source of funding from the fans. On the other hand, they share the future profit that they earn from the football player with their fans.
And what's the advantage for the fans then?
So the fans know actually who is good and who is not really good. So they do have the opportunity to invest in the most favorite players and have also financially a participation of it. So they give cash today and receive a token today. During the investment, they are able to trade the token, which should increase or decrease in value according how the player performs in real life. And when this player is sold at some point later on, they can receive cash in return.